Alright, so I hope you have a minute because I'm fucking on this game chant right now, and just recently, I mean, with every fucking year we get older, right? And the last time, I talked about the movies that turned 20. Now this episode, I want to talk about some of the games that turned 20. We've come a long fucking way, but it's funny to see the things that were made then that we still have now, like fucking Zelda's 30 years old. They keep selling us the same fucking shit. Pokemon is about 25 or more years old, and it's literally the same fucking thing, just newer fucking colors on the shit, which really pisses me the fuck off. But at least I know my kid is gonna be able to enjoy that shit once they learn how to fucking read. Which they getting there. They getting there. Now, first game, and it's probably one of the most King Daddy of all games that, again, it's making its same renditions, has made a Colossus jump from where it once was, but started back on the PlayStation, or actually, I don't know if it was PC or some shit. I remember getting it first on the PlayStation. It was Grand Theft Auto. Now, back in that day, because of the graphical limitations, it did like a top-down view, so you just saw little sprites and real retro-looking shits. But ultimately, it was a fucking game where in this game you play some kind of mobster, some kind of hoodwink, fucking God bless ne'er-do-well, and in the thing you were able to just pretty much do gangsta ass shit, whether that meant jacking cars, which the name of the game is Grand Theft Auto, to just pulling heist missions, fucking prostitutes. I don't know if the hookers were in that at that time, but then years later, I think in 01 when the PS2 came out, then it was in 3D, like this New York City kind of thing. They called it Liberty City, and it recreated so much shit to the point to where, like I said, you're pulling jobs, you're jumping, flying out of cars, stealing other vehicles, interacting with this world that has, live characters doing shit. Yeah, pre-programmed stuff. It was real limited to what it could do, but still, mass cities that you're able to visit. I mean, it evolved into a thing to where it then became Vice City, where it took an 80s twist to it. When you're in a car, you can listen to 80s music from all genres. And I will say, Rockstar, who is the publisher of all the Grand Theft Auto games, they really put a lot of money into this shit. It's one of the highest grossing games, and also one of the expensive ones to produce, because literally just their music alone, like I said, you could even if you don't like playing games, let's say you just like driving, or you just want to hear some jams selected, not the grandest of shit, because they do reach multiple genres. You could just zone out on the music alone. But like I said, in the same spirit, they evolved into then going to South Central LA, to then going back to the East Coast, to then becoming a bigger global, damn near the whole part of California. It's crazy the shit that they tackle in it, and it all started from that fucking game 20 years ago. Another game, because I won't shut the fuck up about Grand Theft Auto if I keep talking about it. There's way much more on it. I would love to talk more about it, or maybe in another episode of thing. Age of Empires, which is one of the first RTS games, real-time strategy games that I remember either hearing about or ever playing. And my uncle's like, who I love like a daddy, this motherfucker would get stuck playing this shit. And literally, you're like, if you ever played Sims, you kind of play God, and you can build up these people who then, develop like a civilization and then a culture, and you're fighting it against other countries. It's just like, being there in the fucking Bible days of when war would happen. You have to rise up and conquer other people's land. It's very in depth. It's a game that just is never fucking ending, because just like in life and war, that shit's never fucking ending. We're always gonna have a beef with someone. It's just one of the most realest shits that were captured, and I haven't played in a long time, but I know they still keep remaking this game. I think this game, even though the game first started 20 years ago, I think they're barely at number 4, and that's just because they invest a lot into expansion packs and just making these little worlds that, again, it's just never ending. Another game that turned 20 is Crash Bandicoot 2. I mean, this motherfucking game, and this is what PlayStation needed the most when it was figuring out, shit, well, Sega got Sonic, Nintendo has Mario. PlayStation hadn't found its niche yet in the market of, characters and mascots, and this Crash Bandicoot game, which originally was developed by Naughty Dog, which is like the creator of Last of Us and Uncharted, and those are really big game series. But at this time, they were just hired to make some, and I'm not too sure if they had to sell that intellectual property to someone else, because eventually Activision caught the licensing of it, and now they're gonna remake those games. And most importantly, they actually put this character in a game called Skylanders and Imaginators, which, if you ever play the game, that is a money sucker upper. Never let your kids enjoy that or be able to taste it, because it is addicting, it is expensive, expensive because literally all the fucking characters that are in that game cannot be touched or harnessed unless you own the physical toy version of it. They call them toys to life games, and it's the biggest fuck you to parents and consumers because it is dope, but man, does it break your wallet. Yeah. And so, but it makes it hard because, you know, you have this bit of nostalgia. So when your boy who wants to get this fucking 2-pack of the good guy, the bad guy, which is, I think it was Crash Bandicoot and Lord Vortex or some shit like that. When you see that and it costs $30 just for these 2 fucking figures to play in a game that he's just going to be switching on and off so fucking much anyway because of his ADHD, it's like, it's hard to say no. And again, why they put your dick in real good. And another one that definitely has gotten me because I didn't have a Nintendo 64, or I did, and by the time I had it, all the other shits were too fucking expensive to buy, and I don't know what it was. I started, dwindling attention at that point when it came to video games. But Star Fox 64, they came out 20 years ago, and it's been done like 3 times. They made it into a digital version that you can download on the Wii, and then they made it into a physical release and also downloadable version that you can play on your 3DS. Literally the same fucking game. Eventually, it had a little bit of better graphics, it made it into 3D effect, but still the same fucking thing. Like, Nintendo is so notorious for just selling you shit over and over because you can't keep playing it on the newer system that you would have upgraded to. And if you're the type that, had to sell or trade their systems to get the newer shit, you're fucked and you're gonna end up re-getting it. And I know then they re-released it again in another redone kind of fashion to where it's still the same fucking concept, still the same fucking levels, literally same fucking bosses, but just upgraded was when they released it in the Wii U. Star Fox, again, it's just an on-rail shooter where you literally can't explore, but you're on this thing that's constantly pushing you forward, and you have to be able to survive as you're going forward. Real old school, real traditional, still a fucking classic. Another thing that kind of created a staple into first-person shooters was the game called Quake 2 that released, and that was your first kind of FPS kind of game where, you're in an arena, you're fighting against other people online, and you battle it out. And that's just one of the tried and true things that really, I think, keep systems going. And now online play being such a big fucking thing, even if they charge you $6 just to play online, again, a thing that kind of created a big deal and a staple for, games of that nature on PC. Another game that turned 20 was Mario Kart 64. Again, Nintendo 64 era. One of the big things is that it had a plug or input to put 4 controllers. So what made this such a big deal, and not only because you're racing with some of your favorite Nintendo characters, is that you're able to fuck over your friends by throwing weapons at them, shells, banana peels, whatever it is, to kind of throw them off balance so that you can win. And when you do that with 4 buddies, and now you can play that shit online and go up against 16 or some shit like that, it still creates a kind of thing to where, like, you get hyped, you get excited. Nothing beats being able to play co-op games where you can just sit on the couch with your friends, your loved ones, and just, have fun, throw shit at them. You wouldn't do it in real life, but in the video game, it's all good. Another game that turns 20 is Final Fantasy VII, and I've talked about it before with there being a mobile version of the game where it has Ariana Grande's little bitch in it. But this game, it's a game that even after 20 years, it's finally being redone for the PS4, and they're gonna sell it to you in fucking 3 different segments because it's apparently gonna be too big of a fucking game to give it to you all at once. Like, motherfucker, this game came out 20 years ago on a 2-disc set maybe, and it's still, it's regarded as one of the best RPGs, role-playing games where you can immerse yourself and be a class or a sword, have a certain magic or power, and total nerdisms. Not Sony, it's Square Enix really has been baking off of these games. Like I said, they're at, I don't know if I mentioned before, but they're at 15 now, and even then those have little subgenres that split off. I know one of the dopest things that company did though with its little series is they combined it with Disney characters, and it's called Kingdom Hearts, which has been going on since the PS2 days. Reached into the 3DS era, but I think it's going to probably stick to Xbox and PlayStation. It's kind of been more of a PlayStation exclusive unless it came to handhelds, which again was more so on really anything they fucking could, but 3DS kind of was taking over that shit. Another game that's been 20 years. It debuted, well, I think it debuted back in NES days, but this game in particular was on the PS1. It was called Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and it's considered to be what they call a Metrovania game, where you're on a linear path, but you have to go back and forth so often, because when you're at this stage at the very beginning, you can't open up this door, so you got to go this route, and once you get that power or possession or key or whatever the fuck, you got to go back, go the first route that you noticed it at the beginning. And it's a game that games that really take over you and really make you exercise your memory, but also kind of create you down the path and give you a certain story that game is particularly able to give you. I didn't personally fuck with that game too much, but I remember having the number 4 on a virtual console game on the Wii that was originally released on the Super Nintendo. Again, shit that it's still a series. It's still one of those things that nerds really fight for and argue for in hopes that they can redo. But again, there's just certain magic in certain times in a certain part of our life where it just becomes a whole lot more. Another game, and this is one of the last ones I'll talk about, also released on the Nintendo 64, but now has become a staple, not as the series itself, but again, what we have as far as home consoles go, and it was 007 GoldenEye. It was one of the first times a console game had a first-person shooter where all you see is the gun and the people around you. They did it in a story mode, but it was one of the first games that had, again, for home consoles, that had multiplayer. And again, the 64 had 4 controllers, so you can have 4 fucking split screens, and you're fighting against your friends and family in this game, and it's the only time you're going to be able to shoot them and not get in some trouble, or maybe a real ass whooping if they got really pissed at you. But again, it created a stable, which then evolved later on the Xbox with Halo 1. And then again, it just became it's a common thing, and one of the best-selling sorts of games in any kind of system are those fucking shoot games. We are a violent society, and it shows in what we want in our fucking games. So if you lived in this era, remember these fucking games, motherfucker, you is old. And if you younger listening to this or want to be able to visit back and give homage to certain things, you can appreciate the shit and where it is now. And yeah, 20 years. Old fuck.